Partnerships and relationships and stress.
You can see that one.
Hi, I'm Alan Krell. I'm in the Sherman School of Art History and Art Education. I've been here at COFA for at least 2 decades plus, but more recently my interests have gone beyond the narrow confines of mid-19th century French to what, broadly speaking, one would call cultural studies. So I wrote a cultural history of barbed wire, and most recently I looked at fire in the social imagination. Fire is the great paradox. It's destruction, it's popcorn, it's reverie, it's destruction. So it's that Janus-like quality of fire, its contradictions, its paradox, the fact that we live with it almost 24/7, and finally, certainly in the context of this country, Australia, where I've lived now for some 30 years, I mean, we're constantly surrounded, the wildfire season. I think the use of fire in the visual arts has a very long history. And to emphasize, in terms of my book, it's fire in art and the social imagination. So in this sense, I look at literature, Jane Eyre, for example. I look at children's tales, where a lot of fire appears. I look at diaries, Samuel Pepys and The Great Fire of London. Indigenous treatments of fire in many ways predate all the Western mythical treatments of fire, such as Prometheus, for example. So the presence of fire in the visual arts specifically, yes, it has a very, very long history. Some of the early images I look at are medieval manuscripts. If you look at religion and images of the burning bush, for example, and there's a wonderful example of the mercurial quality of fire. The bush burns, but it doesn't burn. So it's this, but it could be that. Icarus, and all the images of Icarus. Think of the Bruegel, Netherlandish 15th century artist, and his images of Icarus. And then as we move into the 20th century, there's a great outpouring of images to do with fire. Magritte, I was intrigued to see the great Belgian surrealist, at least 20, 30 images by Magritte that address fire in one way or t'other. Ed Ruscha, coming closer to the present, Liechtenstein, and then all the artists who have not represented fire, but have actually used it, like Mike Barr, Mendieta, the great nouveau realist, the French artist Yves Klein, made artworks out of fire. In summary then, when we're looking at the visual arts, and certainly this was my discovery through the research, I was aware that obviously artists had turned to fire. Rembrandt, 17th century Dutch painters, a rich vein of fire imagery, heaters and candles and foot warmers. But the more I scraped the surface, the more I realized that it's all over the place. In fact, it's like a bushfire. It's just moving constantly.